Hello, this is Miss Chanel of CSBS Learning, and I'm here to give you more secrets. And in this series, the secret we're looking at is basically, well, they're all the secrets that are in the syllabus, right? And for Spanish, your syllabus is called the Modern Languages syllabus. It's actually the syllabus that exists for French as well. All right. And as you can see, it's effective for examinations from May, June 2017. I literally just downloaded this off the CXC website 15 minutes ago because I am paranoid when it comes to CXE. And I really wanted to double check it had the same information as the previous or as the existing copy I had. It's the exact same thing. They just updated the cover. I suppose this is an updated cover. All right. So, what I want to do in this very first episode in terms of the modern languages syllabus is to look at the aims and the general objectives. All right. So that means what we're going to look at is this topic. Can I do a tick? Yes. And we're going to look at general objectives. I'm not going to look at rationale because honestly, it's rather long. I know if you've never looked at the syllabus before, any syllabi, sometimes they're pretty daunting because they seem really long. Okay? They seem really long. But I'm not going to do the rationale today. You can obviously read it as well. I may do the rationale. I'll think about it. Honestly, that's a lot of reading. But what I really want to focus on is the aim and the general objectives because I think this is information, really practical information that people don't have or don't realize about these subjects. Like I said, this is applicable for Spanish. It's also applicable for French. It's also applicable for Portuguese for anyone who's doing Portuguese. And this is essentially what you're supposed to do to successfully dominate the exam. Let's put it like that. All right, to gain some sort of mastery over these foreign languages, right? And learning a foreign language is, I would say, admittedly, pretty stressful in a sense because I'm not saying it's more stressful than any other subject, but it can really require you to build confidence. All right. So in order to help you prepare for your battle, I want to give you this practical information and hopefully render it in such a way that it makes more sense because honestly, this document is not very reader friendly. All right. So let's look at the aims first off. There are 5 aims of this particular syllabus, right? So each of these aims refer to any of those languages, whether if it's French, Portuguese, or Espanol. So I'm going to go through each aim. And again, I'm giving you my interpretation of what I think it means. I am not directly affiliated with the CXC, nor do I have a direct line to their rationale, but I'm using my intelligence and my intellect and my experience. I said intelligence and intellect. That's like pretty redundant, right? But I'm using my awareness to help you get a better idea of what to expect and what kind of output you need to have in terms of this because, again, this is our subject that you can't just read the book and spit out the answers. It doesn't work like that 100%, okay? So let's look at our very first aim of the syllabus. It's to encourage the acquisition of fundamental language skills needed to function successfully in practical everyday situations requiring the use of the target language. Now listen, this in a nutshell is what you're basically achieving for this exam. I've said this, I'm going to break it down for you, but I often tell my students, my learners, that it's like you're doing tourist Spanish. And what I mean by tourist Spanish is that you're a tourist in a Spanish-speaking country and you want to be able to get to places or do certain things. It's almost like that's the level you need to acquire. All right? It's like basic Spanish. I know some of you are like, what do you mean basic, Miss Chanel? Do you see how I'm suffering? Is my suffering basic to you? No, I'm not saying your suffering is basic. We all have suffered. I'm learning other foreign languages, and trust me, I am suffering right now. But it's essentially they're not going to require you to conduct a parliament level debate or political debate. They want you to acquire, and that word acquire, let me get out my little drawing tool again. Let me go for the red so we could see it. No, I don't like to use red. Let's use green. I don't like to use red. You see this word acquire? Where is my little, I lost it, guys. It's so crazy. See this word acquire, acquisition? What you want to do with a language is to acquire it. When you acquire a language, you sort of absorb it. All right? It kind of becomes second nature. So they want to encourage this second nature ability to use a language, but at fundamental levels. Fundamental means more, it's a synonym for basic. So you want basic language skills in this new language so that you can function successfully. What do you think function successfully means? It means that you can navigate situations successfully, right? In practical, everyday situations. Practical, everyday situations. If you've looked at any paper 2 and you've looked at any orals paper and you're not focusing on freaking out, but you're looking at the paper, even the paper 1, you'll realize it centers around home and family, school and career, daily routines, travel. Oh, I always miss out one. Sports and recreation, shopping. They all revolve all over these things. And when you think about life, your own life, and you look at those categories in English, okay, you basically may not be in all those categories. Not everybody does travel, right? Which is why I like to do the travel topics for the exam, because not everyone has a hard experience traveling, so sometimes that's new. But for most of these things, your home and family, school and career, that's basic stuff. Basic everyday life. All right? So basic everyday situations, and it requires the use of the target language. Target language means the new language you want to acquire. The language you speak, most of you primarily, your first language is English. That's your source language. The target language is the new language you're going to get. So your target language would be French or Portuguese or Espanol, right? Very good. So we're done with 1. I hope it made sense to you. I'm going to put a nice tick by it. I like colors. Okay? Tick. Oh, and I'm doing my tick so really well today. It feels so good. Good. So let's look at our second aim. All right? I have a feeling this video might only be the aims, but let's see. Let's look at the second aim. Develop an understanding of the standard spoken and written forms of French, Portuguese, and Espanol. So, just to let you know, if you see these italics, right, like how Portuguese and is italics, those are updates to the syllabus. Anywhere you read a syllabus and there's an italics or any word or phrase in italics, that shows the updates because they updated the syllabus to also include Portuguese. 2017, 2015, yeah, that's when they did that, okay? So to develop an understanding of the standard spoken and written forms of French or Portuguese or Spanish. So basically, you should be able to understand what someone says in standard French, Portuguese, or Spanish. So not necessarily slang, okay? We're not talking slang, regular standard forms of these languages, whether if it's spoken or written. That's the actual aim there. So in this regard, this is why I would even tell my learners, hey, watch your favorite show and put on Spanish subs or put on the Spanish audio, especially if it's one that you've seen more than once. So like I have a student right now, he's in Form 2, and Pacific Rim is one of his favorite shows. I've told him, hey, your ongoing homework in Espanol is to watch Pacific Rim, either with the audio or you put on the Spanish subs, right? And when I say that, let me just further explain. You can put on the Spanish audio or whatever target language audio you put on the audio in that language and you can keep the English subs, right? If it helps you. Or you could leave it in English audio and ensure that the subs are in Spanish or French or Portuguese. And then, of course, the total hardcore edition is just Spanish audio only, no subs, no English subs, or French audio or Portuguese audio only. That's hardcore. I can do that. I actually don't often watch shows with Spanish audio, but I watch a lot with Spanish sub because I love to read in Spanish. So I'll even watch anime because anime in Spanish is absolutely quite awesome. So I'll watch anime in Castellano and it's fantabulous. Right. Encourage communication in French, Portuguese, and Spanish in a manner acceptable to native speakers. So basically, this point is sort of the complement to point two. Point two is you need to be able to speak. Sorry, you need to be able to understand what someone says and what someone has written in the target language. Aim number 3 is saying that you need to be able to speak. You need to be able to, they don't say speak or write, but you need to be able to communicate in such a way that a native speaker can understand you, right? And I would say that would mean reading or writing. I don't know why they didn't express that. Don't laugh at my tics. That's the best I can do, okay? I don't know why they didn't express that directly, but essentially that's what it means, all right? Because guess what? You need to speak in your foreign language, in the target language. You need to write in the target language. There's no way to escape that. Let's go to the 4th aim, right? I think I'm definitely only doing aims in this video because it's so much, right? It's very boring. So let's do it in smaller chunks so that your brain can absorb it, right? Aim 4, encourage students to appreciate your own cultures and those of their neighboring Francophone, Lusophone, and Hispanic countries. What are they trying to tell you here? They're hoping that when you, and it's really odd, this does happen when you study other cultures, they're hoping that you begin to appreciate your own individual cultures, whichever country you are located in the Caribbean region, that you gain a greater appreciation for your own culture, and that at the same time you also appreciate these Francophone, Lusophone, Hispanic cultures. Francophone would be French, Lusophone, Portuguese, Hispanic would be Spanish, right? So once you speak a different language, you might have variations in culture. And so we might have some similarities, some commonalities. We may also have some differences, which may create challenges, but we want to understand them. In order to understand a language, you need to understand culture. I think I'm going to use a totally different language that you're not doing for CXC, but for me to understand some concepts in Asian languages, right? Like I've got a plan to learn Mandarin and Korean, right? For me to understand some of the things or that they would say, I need to understand the culture, right? So it does actually help you. It's not just that you need to know the capital of of a country, right? It helps you know. It really does help you. I just can't. So let me give you my own personal story with this. I began to be more invested in Spanish because I read a book just before my orals for CXC, for CSEC. I read a book on Spanish culture in Spain, and I was totally fascinated, right? I've never been to Spain. I definitely want to visit Spain, but it sounded so phenomenal. So if we spent, if we spent more time doing the cultural aspect of these countries, we might be more fascinated, right? So, you could go on YouTube and look at influencers that are from these countries, and, you realize they're regular people like you or me, right? They're not like aliens. And let's look at our last aim: to develop a foundation for further study in the world of work. What this means is maybe you want to do CAPE. Maybe you want to go university and study Spanish. I'm laughing a little bit because CAPE Spanish is very different. So those of you who are listening to this and you have some interest in furthering Spanish, Cape Spanish is not like this. This is basic Spanish. You'd go to Cape and you'd miss this, right? So I did start off saying that aim one was fun. Is it's the aim first aim explained that this is fundamental work, right? You're looking at I have to go back to it because my brain. You're looking at the acquisition of fundamental language skills in practical everyday situations. When you get to Cape, we're talking about art, we're talking about women, we're talking about technology, we're doing debates, we're doing reports. Well, not necessarily reports, but you might be reporting whilst doing literature. So it's definitely different. One of the things I love about these aims is that it really focuses on your ability to use the language. Languages are meant to be used. They're meant to be spoken. They're meant to be written because languages are tools of communication. All right. That's what they are ultimately. All right. So thank you so much for joining in and listening to this. Look out for part 2 in this series when we will move on to the general objectives of the modern languages syllabus. All right. You guys take care. Bye bye.